Good morning. We got a lot going on today, guys. Here in a little bit, we're going to be voting for our outstanding ambassador. I'll go through that with you. As I was looking through videos, I was trying to find something on passion. Brooke's going to read a little article as soon as this video is done that was sent by the guy that's a broker of Intero. Intero is another home services owned company out in California. It was Gino's company originally, talking about a story similar to what I've told in the past about Warren Buffett, his definition of success when he was talking to the University of Georgia, a little different twist on it. And so I started saying, let's find a video on passion or believing in yourself or loving what you're doing. I'm watching videos today. I send her a couple videos to watch, and then I'm listening to Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins is talking about passion and loving what you're doing, and he starts talking about burning the frickin' boats. And I'm like, that's it. Cortez. Who's heard the story of Cortez? Right? So any of you who've been around a long time have heard this because I've showed this video probably, Adam, 7-8 years ago? 7-8 years ago, Adam sent this video to me. And so I said, pull up Cortez. We're going to show the video of Cortez, burn the boats. Adam loves this story so much. He has a couple tattoos on his body, one of his kids, one of his wife, and one of burning the boats in Cortez. Is this a true story, Adam? He's not going to show it to you, thank God for the rest of us. Okay? So guys, we're going to watch this video real quick. Brookie D is going to read this quick thing because she reads better than I do, and then we're going to dive into this thing. Can we hit the lights?
There was a man in 1519 who set sail on the final leg of a voyage that was to take him from the shores of Cuba to the Yucatan Peninsula. He had in his employ 500 soldiers, 100 sailors, 16 horses on 11 ships. And they were going to take the world's richest treasure. It was a treasure of gold and silver and artifacts, jewels that had been held by the same army for 600 years. Everybody knew about this treasure because army after army had tried to take it. Conqueror after conqueror had appeared with the forces and with the will to take this treasure, but nobody had been able to do it. This guy, his name was Hernando Cortez, he was a conqueror. Which, to our way of thinking, this is a horrible thing. But back then, it was like a job description. You could be a doctor, you could be a baker, you could be a conqueror. There were courses in it. And little kids would grow up wanting to be. And so anyway, Cortez was a conqueror. But he was a little bit different in his approach because he knew that time after time, people had gathered armies and nobody knew. So he had to gather an army whose level of commitment was beyond that which ordinary people consider commitment. So rather than just sign them up, he talked to them beforehand. He talked to them about what the treasure was like and what their lives would be like when they took the treasure and what their families and their generations of lives would be like when they took the treasure and how they were going to take the treasure and why they were different and what would be like that moment that they put their hands on. And so he laid a vision out for these people, for these men. And then they set sail. Well, halfway through the voyage, he realized he had a problem because a lot of these people who were so certain turned into whiners. Halfway across, Mr. Cortez, we're not sure we should be on this ship at this time. It was amazing. Cortez was like, and they got there. When they got there, they didn't just walk in and fight like conquerors had done in the past. He waited there on the beach. He gathered everybody on the beach and he made them listen to talks about what the treasure was going to be like. And he brought somebody up to talk about what their children would grow up like and how the children would grow up in favor and in wealth because of what they had done. He laid that vision out for them. And then finally, the day came that they were going to march in and take the treasure, and they gathered around. And as they gathered around, they grew quiet. And they were ready for the speech. They knew that this would probably be the speech where Cortez says, you go here, we'll go here. If the arrows start flying, meet me at this coconut stump. We're out of here. But what he said was 3 words that changed everything. As they quieted down, he leaned in and he said, burn the boats. And they said, excuse me? He said, burn the boats, torch the boats. And they burned their own boats at Cortez's direction. He said, if we're going home in their boats. Well, an amazing thing happened. They fought well. It was the first time it had ever been done. They took the treasure. They took it. First time in 600 years, and they took the treasure. Why? They had no choice. Take it or die. I mean, that was basically the choice. Take it or die. And I'm sure they considered that. Take it, die. I guess we'll take it. And they did. Boy, they took the treasure. And see, here's the thing. The question for us is, what is it in our lives that is still floating the excuses in our minds, that's keeping us from getting what we say we want? What are the boats in our hearts and in our minds that we need to burn? Now, I know why a lot of people are scared to burn boats. And frankly, a lot of it has to do with personal feeling. A lot of people are scared to burn their boats because they know they'll get criticized if they do.
Burn the boats. In a lot of our mastermind groups, we've been talking about...
There was a man.
There was a man. Now, Adam really does have a tattoo of burn the boats. Ultimately, we've been talking a lot in a lot of these mastermind groups about what are our struggles. Why do we not do the things that we know we need to be doing, right? Why do we not prospect regularly? Why do we not create good habits? Brooke and I was at lunch 2 weeks ago with a 2-star general. Yeah. And we were talking about leadership, and we were talking about all these type of things. And we started talking about habits and being consistent. And then he asked the question. He says, how long does it take to create a good habit? I said, I don't know. The question was 30 days, and we both agreed 30 days isn't long enough, right? Because we see this all the time. We see people start New Year's resolutions. They make it through January, but by the end of February, they've quit. So I don't know what it is, but I know that when you consistently do little things over time and create good habits, you'll be more successful. But what I love about this is you got to believe in yourself. I've always said you got to believe in yourself before you can expect others to believe in you. This is true on a listing presentation, right? It's true in your own personal life. Doesn't matter what aspect of life. So I love this story. And so what we're working on, we're going to have Marie Otis come up right now. No, I'm kidding you. We are going to have, her eyes about popped out of her head. Can you push them back in? We are going to have her do a class, though, on time management and goal setting over the next month as part of our training. I want to get engaged in some of the stuff because we've got to figure out how do we put systems in place? How do we believe in ourselves? And ultimately, what kind of prompted this whole thing to find something about believing yourself and passion was what I'm going to have Brooke read here next, was this story about an article that the gentleman running in Terrell in California talked about having that passion and loving what you do based on what Warren Buffett had said in a speech in, I believe, the University of Georgia. So, Brooke, read it.
Okay, you guys, not gonna lie, my childhood fear was reading out loud in the classroom, so.
Stand up.
I know, no. I'm gonna pretend
I know
like,
you're tall, but you still gotta stand up.
I'm gonna pretend like I'm reading to Carrie right here, okay? So some Tuesday morning mojo. Love, give, selfless, empathetic, fun, respect, passion, and success. So this was an article about billionaire Warren Buffett. When you're nearing the end of your life, you're measured by your success. Of the people you want to have love, you actually do love you. Does that make sense? People you want to have love, you actually do love you, he answered. I know people have a lot of money, but they get testimonial dinners and they get hospital wings named after them, but the truth is that nobody in the world loves them, said Buffett. If you can get into my age in life and nobody thinks well of you, I don't care how big your bank account is, your life is a disaster. So here are his keys to this. Give to receive. Love is one of the most powerful emotions a human being can feel, and yet we still live in an individualistic society of keeping up with the Joneses. We forge ahead with our business ventures and strategically plan our career paths and hope in finding fame and fortune. We feel we've finally arrived at the top when we're able to vacation twice a year in exotic islands and drop in a European luxury car or two in the garage. We dream about having all these things. Love be damned. The problem with love is that it's not for sale, Buffett said. It's very irritating if you have a lot of money. You'd like to think that you could write a check, I'll buy $1 million worth of love, but it doesn't work that way. The more you give love away, the more you get. So how can we follow how can we follow Buffett's principle and leave behind a legacy? The path of putting love into motion is a daring and courageous one, but here are a few ways to do it. Be selfless and don't expect anything in return. The laws of love are reciprocal. When we choose to love someone unconditionally by encouraging them and believing in them, love comes back in full force through respect, admiration, trust, and loyalty. What's more, when we receive those things, we become more self-compassionate. A California study in 2011 found that self-compassion can increase motivation, willpower, and the ability to recover from failure. Be empathetic. Empathy is one of the most common traits of being likable or lovable. True empathy occurs when you're able to step into someone else's shoes and see the perspective from their eyes. Make work enjoyable and fun. When you enjoy work, you enjoy life. I love every day, said Buffett. I mean, I tap dance in here and work with nothing but people I like. There's no job in the world that is more fun than running Berkshire, and I count myself lucky to be where I am. Treat others the way they want to be treated. As children, we were often taught the golden rule, treat others the way as you want to be treated. But the platinum rule takes a whole new level. Treat others the way they want to be treated. We can be more certain that we're respecting what they want instead of projecting our own values and preferences. That doesn't mean we should ignore the golden rule altogether, but we should realize the limitations given that every person in every situation is very different. Follow your passion. If you want to have your dream career, you must follow your passion. It's that simple. Many of us take our cushy paychecks and job security for granted, even though we may hate our jobs and would rather be doing something else. So if you don't know what it is, that your life, it's time to find out.
So I love a lot of those stories in there. Thank you, Brooke. You can sit down now.
Yeah.
Part of what I do, Heather knows this very well, is to push you guys out of your comfort zone, right? To get you to continue. I mean, just like what she said, there's one of my fears is reading to other people, right? To push you through these type of things. And that's what we do in Heather's class really every fall. A big part of that is I gave her just a handful of things. One is to help them learn how to prospect and grow their business. Part of it is getting them out of their comfort zone to make them more productive as they continue to move forward. But I love what Buffett says there. He talks about, I love what I do every day. I consider myself lucky to come to work. And I really believe most of my life I felt that way too. And I do love coming to work. And the reason I would say I don't ever want to retire is because I think a part of me will be missing when I do. But that's what we want. We want this energy, this culture, this environment to exist in this space. We want you guys to come here every single day to learn from others, to be more fulfilled in your life. This is probably about a 9-10-year-old study. Business schools that have grad programs, the top ones in the country, when you graduate from those masters and go out into the real world, they'll typically do a survey. The University of Michigan Ross School of Business, which at one time was the #1 business research school in the United States, did one. And it went back to these students in 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. And the question that they asked them is, as you head into the real world right now, what's most important to you? Is it to make a lot of money and be successful in that manner? Or is it to do what you love, to chase your passions and your dreams? And so they divide them up into those two groups, depending on their answer. And they go back 5, 10, 15 years, and it was like 15 years later, they went back to these two groups to see where they were and how successful they'd been in life. And the crazy thing is the people that said that I want to chase my dreams and do what I love and what I'm passionate about were multimillionaires like 10 to 1 over the people that said, I just want to make a lot of money. And you can listen to Tony Robbins or anybody that really focuses and understands leadership, right, and human behavior. And that's how we're wired as humans. When we do something we're passionate about, right, when we do something we really love, I don't care if it's sports, with your family, with your business, you'll put in more time, energy, and effort, and you'll be more successful. The byproduct of being passionate is it's easy to put in the extra time, energy, and effort. It's hard to work that extra hour or to go in on the weekend or work in the evening if you're just doing it for money. It's just tough. There's not a love there. So I gave a speech, oh God, it's been over 10 years ago, down in Kansas to a brokerage. And I was talking about this subject, about passion and do what you love. And I'm driving back to Omaha, and I get a call from one of the people that was in the audience. And he said, "Thank you so much. I loved your speech. You actually made a meaningful difference, and I'm going to change my life from this point forward. I'm going to actually move to Chicago." So I'm like, oh my God, that's cool, but I have anxiety going through my body because someone just paid me to give a speech and they just lost an agent over it. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to get invited back here. So I immediately get off the phone. Now, he did go on to tell me a story and said, my mom was killed. I, since then, have had trauma, and I now have blackouts when I drive, so he can't drive himself. So he had to be dependent on other people. And so he wanted to move to Chicago where he knew some people where there'd be mass transit and he could take taxis and buses and other things to get around and not be so dependent. He had to have people take him to listing presentations and to help him on showings. And he felt a burden on other people. So there was some logic behind that. But I called the broker and she said, this has been something he's been struggling with for a long time. He's having a hard time operating in our area because it's just so tough for him to get around, and he does feel a burden on everyone else. But the truth is, I've had some of our people come and say, you know what? I'm passionate about decorating. I think I'm going to go focus more of my time on that. If we're in real estate, let's love real estate. Let's love what we do, right? And so what do we talk about in mastermind groups? We talk about systems and good habits, but we talk so much about mindset. So figure out whatever you're doing in your personal life with your family, right? In your business, any aspect of life. Find inside of here, right? Michael Jordan says heart is what separates the good from the great. Find a passion and a fire on the inside of you that's going to help you be great at what you do. And I love to burn the boats because there's no turning back, right? Because when people start things, if it's really important to them, it should be just as important to finish it. But how many people start something they're all excited about, they're all jazzed about, and they never finish it? So that's, our little story. We are pumped up and excited. Have we handed out these ballots already? Yeah. Everyone has them? Okay. So we'll have to hand them out to the people out there then also? Do we have some for that? So what we're going to do right now, guys, is next Tuesday is the awards breakfast. It's going to be at the same place that we had the Christmas party and that we had the Inky Johnson speech on 135th and State. What's it called? A View on State? A View on State. One of the things that we do that is what you guys vote on, which is our highest award, is the K. Carol Lisi, which is my mother, who was one of the founders of this organization, Outstanding Ambassador of the Year Award. Everybody you see on here, the only standard to get on the list is you had to close. You have to be a team leader, a partner, or an individual agent. And you've had to close over $4 million in 2018. That's the criteria of getting on here. We don't let you win it twice. So you're going to see some people, you're going to say, where's Kathy Blackman or Adam Briley or Deb Sizek? We listed on the back people that would have qualified this year that's already won the award. So you can't vote for them. So we're going to give you a minute. Do we have some pins to pass around to help these guys?
Yep. Did you say this the minimum standard to be on there?
So the minimum standard was $4 million, yes. So guys, here's the deal. We don't tell you and give you a definition of what an outstanding ambassador is. That's for you to decide. Is it somebody that's helpful to other people in the community? Is it someone that's really helpful to people here in the organization? Is it somebody that sells a whole lot of real estate? You need to decide and make your own decision as to what you believe an outstanding ambassador is when you're making this decision. We don't want to ever define this for you, okay?
Mamie wants to know if you were writing.
Mamie wants to know if, so this is a great story. For those of you who came from CBS, was it 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago, Brian?
Yeah, maybe.
2 years ago, we got up there, I'm getting ready at the awards breakfast to announce this, and I said, for the first time ever, this has never happened before, we have a write-in candidate as the winner of the Outstanding Ambassador. Brian Thomas, will you please come forward? Now, Brian was so damn happy. There's this big smile on his face. And he's like, oh, he's acting all humble. Oh, no. He gets up, got a big smile. I'm like, Brian, sit down. They didn't write your name in. The jokester of all jokesters was joked on. Ralph, I think you like that, don't you? So Brian was humble for about 5 hours, and then he went back to being Brian. So you guys take a minute, look at this, fold it in half, pass it to the middle of the aisle, we'll walk down, but you decide what's important to you. And again, it was $4 million at Berkshire Hathaway in closed volume. And if you have a pen and the person next to you doesn't, can you pass the pen down to them? Everyone know Amy and Carrie? Carrie is the president, runs our title company, and Amy is our attorney there. They're going to talk for a couple minutes about expanded coverage. We'll do this about twice a year, just to walk through the difference of, do we do it less than twice a year?
Maybe more.
Maybe more than twice a year?
Probably do it more than one.
We should do it more than twice a year, but we don't.
Good morning. I'm Amy Marasco. I'm General Counsel for Ambassador Title. Thanks for letting us come and talk this morning. Just wanted to touch base with you all a little bit. We see every now and then, or we hear from clients that their agent may have advised them, or the agents tell us themselves that they don't see any value in recommending that their client pay a little extra for expanded coverage. And we just wanted to kind of touch base with you all and let you know that if you are not comfortable giving your client advice on that, if you feel like you don't have enough information to know the differences on those, you can certainly have them contact us, and we'll walk them through the basic differences between those policies. That way, that information comes directly from us rather than you giving your client advice that may be adverse to their interests. So an example of that is if you feel like, across the board you never recommend expanded coverage to your clients, and they end up having an issue on their property that would have been covered by an expanded policy, they're going to look to you for giving them that advice. So we want to shift that, and if you have any clients that have any questions, have them contact us directly, and we can walk them through those differences, and that way you all don't have to worry about potential liability on that issue.
Carrie, just in the last month, we had a situation where there was something where the person, thank God, had expanded coverage, had an issue. If they would not have had expanded coverage, would not have been covered. Can you walk through that scenario?
He's talking about the one that keeps coming back.
Oh, okay. And that one's still pending. But we did have a gentleman who moved into his house. He had lived there like maybe 2 days, and he was out mowing the lawn, and the neighbor comes tearing across his lawn, waving a letter that says, "I told the seller we've been in a battle for the last 2 years about his basketball hoop, this concrete pad, and all this landscaping being on my property." And so they got a survey. They did confirm that those structures were on the neighbor's property, and ended up having to pay to have those removed. That is something that is covered under your policy, or may be covered under the policy, because it's an encroachment on a neighbor's property. That is something that would definitely not be covered under a basic policy. So that one is still pending with our title insurer. We're still trying to figure out what's going to happen with that, but that is something that would have been just a flat-out denial if it was on the basic policy. It just does not offer those coverages.
Chris.
Yeah, does that matter if you do a survey or do not do a survey in that transaction? Just out of curiosity, because how would you guys know?
So we've gone through this with all of our underwriters, and we've been advised by them that we sort of take a out-of-sight, out-of-mind approach when it comes to surveys. If your client orders a survey through the contract, we will order the survey. We can invoice it through closing. But we direct the survey company to send that survey directly to the agents and the parties rather than sending that survey to us. If we receive that survey and there are issues on that, then we are obligated under our agency agreements to take exception to those issues, and there would not be coverage under the policy for those. So so long as we don't see the survey and your clients are aware of the issue, then we don't have to address it.
And that's why,
No more surveys.
You can order a survey, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't, and that's why we don't want to see them.
Yeah, you can absolutely protect your client, have them get a survey. We just don't want to see them because if there are issues that would be covered under expanded, we don't want to take away from that.
Scott, you have anything you want to add?
So while Scott's walking up here, there are a couple of really big benefits to having expanded policies. One, a basic policy is only good for so long as your client owns the property, whereas an expanded policy will continue forever. Even if that person dies and their heirs inherit the property, they will still be covered under that policy.
Expanded coverage is about 10% more. Is that?
Yeah.
Did you guys give me
Usually,
is that kind of the number I heard?
It's usually around $200 more, and since that's split between buyer and seller, it's really not that much more for the amount of coverages that you get.
Those of you who don't know from the Berkshire Hathaway side, Scott also is an attorney, so I've been throwing him some things that I used to throw Brian as my quasi-attorney, or Amy.
A couple of things on the expanded. As she was saying, that survey issue about us not seeing it, that only applies to expanded. If you have a basic policy, there's an exception within the policy that says if it would have been shown on a survey, whether you had it or didn't have it, it wouldn't be covered. A couple other things. A normal title insurance policy, I worked in title insurance and claims for several years. Another thing about basic title insurance is that it looks back. It always looks to the past. And so if something should have been found or could have been found, that's when there's coverage. Expanded is one of the few things in title insurance where actually we'll look to the future in certain situations. One of the best ones that you can get to is just think about a house. They're trying to get repair work done to try to get it closed. Something calls out on a home inspection report, and the seller ends up stiffing the contractor. Now, under a basic title insurance policy, if a construction lien got filed after closing, because they can file a lien within 120 days of closing, or when they last did the work, a lien could get filed after you closed, and that lien attaches to the property, not to the sellers who didn't pay the agent or pay the sellers. Expanded would cover that. That is a huge, huge benefit to expanded coverage. The other thing is there are cases out there in California where the agent got sued because they advised against getting the expanded coverage, because what of course happens is agent goes, not worth the money, they don't pay anything. And trust me, title insurance doesn't pay a lot, but when they pay it, it's generally something pretty big, like a complete failure of title. So when you have title insurance, you're very, very lucky to have it, because it also pays for the entire defense cost of a lawsuit, everything else that goes into it. But there's California cases where an agent got sued because they advised against the title insurance, the expanded coverage, and they basically said, it's not worth the money. Well, of course, what happens is they close. 6 months later, they get into an issue that would have been covered by expanded, and they said, my agent talked me out of this. That's negligence. Sue the agent and basically make the agent's E&O be the title insurance because of the failure to properly advise them. In my opinion, it's one of the few policies in the world that you make one premium and you have coverage for life. It's so cheap, and it gives such good coverage in things that are very important. The idea of talking anyone out of it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I paid those claims. I paid big claims. I paid tons of claims. I've been in lawsuits all over the country about this stuff. And the one thing I could never get over is why would you ever not get the expanded coverage? Because honestly, most of the denials that you see at title insurers is because people didn't get the expanded coverage, and they would have had coverage had they gotten it. So that.
And that's what you did in your past life.
Yeah, for a lot of years.
Yeah. Then we're done. You too.
No, let's talk title all day.
No. We're not defending the case here, Scott. You
This
three,
is
and then
more
we're done.
motivation. Yes.
I'm
what happens writing all my contracts with expanded, but then I found out that there are limitations.
Right.
Did you want to go over those limitations?
I mean, when it won't cover, yeah, new construction, you can't get it.
Repeat the question.
What you can't, when you can't get an expanded coverage policy, new construction is the one that comes right off the bat. Foreclosures, I think, are another one that you don't get.
So basically, there
Corporations.
has to,
Yep.
the basic requirements are there has to be a 1 to 4 family residence on the land. It cannot be vacant land. It can't be commercial land. It can be a condo. And then it has to be insured by, or insured to a natural person or their trust. So it can't be a corporation, or, it's basically geared towards
Individual.
people buying their own residence. So when you have an investment or an investor that's buying properties under an LLC, they would not be eligible for that.
And another thing that expanded will do for you is if you have a basic policy and you transfer it, say you want to do some estate planning, you'll do a deed, quitclaim deed to your LLC or your trust. At that point, you've severed the coverage under a basic policy. With an expanded, that would continue to be coverage to that LLC or that trust, which you'll find out when you sell it, that's when you lose the coverage.
Last question.
Can you address what's on the closing disclosures now, the optional buyers thing that I've had several clients say, well, it's optional, why do I need it?
Yeah, so that was the wisdom of the CFPB, that they didn't want people to buy things that they don't need. And so the point was, well, it's optional. Of course, it's always been optional. You never had to get it. The only thing that would be a requirement is the lender is going to force the buyer to get it. Now, a lot of people say, do I need coverage if the lender has coverage? It's completely different coverage. It's completely different coverage. What the lender's looking to protect is they're looking to protect their value of their deed of trust. So if you have a $500,000 house and a $250,000 mortgage, the only insurance coverage you have is $250,000. And so that's why saying optional doesn't make any sense to me.
So, Carrie, that's something we're having signed at every closing.
Well, it's required. So you're not.
Correct.
You're talking about something
Yeah,
different.
an LLC would not be covered under the expanded.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Questions, feel free, stop down, call us, whatever.
Yep.
We're here.
Thank you, guys. All right, Scott, don't go too far. You know what? I've got you up here. I'm just going to let you do this. The veterans program. Can you talk about the veterans program real quick? Because you guys have always had a veterans program. Kind of explain to our agents, because you guys used to have through Cardis, right?
Yes. The military.
The military assistant programs. Yes. Can you talk real quick about that?
So we used to have Cardis, and now we don't. And so what we did was to create kind of a program that sort of mimicked it. And it was basically a rebate program that would, give you actually more value than you would under the Cardis program. And so we were able to, what we were basically using it on is that subsequent sales, people could go back to USAA if they were a member, and they'd get this USAA military program rebate. And so what we did is we just set up one just like it, that we just mimicked it and actually gave what would it be, a USA member, better value for it. And so it's tied to price tiers and what you rebate's based off the purchase price. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
So we can get that to everybody.
Yeah, and it's just a nice little thing that, you can shake some business away from the Better Homes and Gardens and the Coldwell Bankers of the world, because they're the ones who now use the Cardis or have Cardis and USAA.
Brian and I always kind of thought, as we read the rule, that it was against federal lending, but Scott has done some research, and basically there's laws there actually encouraging, the government's actually encouraging us to give rebates to military.
Yeah, specifically to military people, they want a rebate back. They want to give them every advantage they can. And so they made, not really an exception, they just came out with an opinion saying rebates are encouraged, rebates are fine. But Vince and I had, not words, but we had a disagreement about it when we first came out with our program.
We said if CBS can do it, we can do it.
Right, because we're like, they got a lot more attorneys than we did. So we know they spent a lot more time researching this than we did.
Yeah, we're lousy with attorneys. We got tons of them.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We are going to do some research. I've had a handful of you, and I think, Katie, help me on this. Is there a class for the luxury program? Is it just a thing you have to be part of it to get into it? But okay, so we've been getting a lot of questions about the luxury program, and it's a different sign. You have to have a designation. I think you have to sell 1 or 2 houses. I think we've declared over 500,000 in the last 12 months in Omaha to get certified on that. But we're going to get some information. Who, by a show of hands, who's got some interest in the luxury program, which is a different sign, a different certification, a designation? Okay, enough. So we're going to get some information Carrie, as you're floating around out there, you and Brooke, I don't know, 6 somebody on that, and then we'll get that information back to you guys. Those of you that are interested in that, maybe shoot off a text to Brooke or an email to Brooke, just saying you're interested, so we make sure that we reach back out to you and we can get that information to you. But it is a point of differentiation and another designation. The awards breakfast, as of yesterday morning, we only had 240 people signed up. We're expecting 500 people there. The problem is we're serving breakfast. We need to know how much food to have. We need to know how many tables to have set. So we started making some calls yesterday. Please, please, please help us. Who do we want them to send that to, Carrie? Janet. Please tell Janet if you've got a team, how many people on your team are attending. If you're individual, if you are attending, we need a close head count on this thing. We'd love to have you there. Again, 135th and State, a view on State Street. Todd Moss, real quick, will be doing again. He announced it a couple weeks ago. Again, August 5th, which is a Monday, the Sunshine Kids Golf Tournament. That'll be a lot of fun. Brian, I've got on here, you want to talk real quick about dual agency with teams, the difference between agency disclosures and the form that gives you permission to be a dual agent.
I do?
Yes, you do. Okay. And Brooke said she'll stand up for that. She said, actually, we're going to be getting signed up for the volleyball league. Those of you at CBS who do not know, we have a sand volleyball league on Tuesday nights. Runs 6 to 9, I think, right? Or 6:30 to 9? Yep. I don't know when it runs. 6:30 to 9:30? We don't know when it runs. But those of you that are interested in that, get a hold of Brooke. We'd like to get more teams. And those of you who don't have a team, call us as an individual, and we'll put some, like last year we put a team together, but we'd like to get more participants in that. Dual agency.
Okay, lots people get confused on dual agency. You know, all our teams, some of them are like treating each agent on their team as like a buyer's agent. Some of the teams are treating everybody on the team is a dual agent in each situation. And you know, in that agency form itself, it shows who is actually working for the seller on that page 2 of that agency form. So in order to be a dual agent, you have to be part of that. You have to be part of that listing. Now, is there some confusion with you guys as far as dual agency as we see it? Do you see something different, how we let our teams do it the way they want to?
We pretty much let you do anything you want to do as long as it's legal.
Right.
That's our rule.
Like, somebody will be like, some agents will be like on every listing because they're the team leader. They don't look at themselves as a dual agent because it's really somebody else on the team that brought that listing in. But if they're on that listing, they are a dual agent if they bring in the buyer. I think we got it covered. I think most people have a basic understanding of this.
On the top 2 lines, not where it's
Right. Well, it's at the very top of that second page, you list everybody that represents the seller or whatever, or the buyer.
Doesn't the agency agreement have to match the listing agreement?
It should.
Yes.
It should. If you're not on the listing
agreement. The commission is wrote us up on, you got to have them on both places.
Right. Don't ask me something hard, Chris. God damn it, you always. What?
At some point, it was told that everybody on the team should be a dual agent.
Well, here's our recommendation.
Because we were talking about privileged information into the meeting.
When I was on the real estate commission, there was a lot of conversation on this, and I don't think this has changed. Our recommendation is if you're on a team and you're sitting in the same physical space or having team meetings on a regular basis talking about listings you have, the commission had a case or two and started having discussions saying, listen, is it reasonable? They said it was possible, but they said, is it reasonable? And there was a case brought in front of them where someone got in trouble on this, that other member of that team doesn't know confidential, some sort of private information on that listing. So if you're going to take it as a part of a team, you need to make sure you're not talking about the motivation or any confidential information in team meetings or on a phone, because their conversation is, if I'm on the phone and Brian overhears me, right? Brian overhears you in that conversation, talking to that seller about what their motivating factors are, or how much they'll take for that property or something like that, that should be an additional limited seller's agent on that. So
But anybody could be like sitting next to you on a cube or something and say the same stuff.
Brian, don't complicate this stuff.
Well, you don't want to be.
We don't pay you to do this.
You can't be wimpy.
So it was my recommendation coming out of those cases and seeing someone get in trouble for that situation, saying, I think the safe thing is if you're on a team, list your team members as additional. You don't have to do it. I'm just saying, be careful. Talk.
All right. Remember Bob Sorensen?
God.
We were all dual agents when Bob Sorensen was in the room. They'll take $30,000 for that. My people will sell this for 50. You know, so I know that's 20 under what they're asking, but so yeah, just be careful what you say around anybody. Can I sit down now? Okay.
Please do. Thank you, Brian. So, Fred, we've now had 81, is that what you told me? 81 people that have went through your classes to get the designation for the residential real estate, what do you call it?
Residential investment specialist.
Residential investment specialist. And we have, the last group had 39 go in it, and we're going to be having Tuesday at 4 to 4:30 the presentation of that. So any of you that were in that last class, where's that going to be? Up here? Right here. So any of the 39 of you that were in that class, Thursday, 4 to 4:30, we'll present to you guys. So thank you, Fred, for doing that. We do appreciate. How many people attended either Fred's mastermind groups or went through his class? He is really, his wealth of information and willing to share it without charging a dime to anybody has been unbelievable. I cannot believe the number of people that have came to me over the last couple of years said, you know, I started buying investment properties or I started selling investment properties because of the conversation I've had with Fred. So we appreciate your time, energy, and effort on helping people with that. The legal plan, again, those of you at CBS, you have your program into August because you paid in August, so August will be our annual thing with that. We've already got a couple people, Berkshire Hathaway agents, we've got some commission complaints going on right now. That started January 1st. So any commission complaint we received after January 1st, you're paying that plan. It's $95 a year, but we prorated it, I think, for the first 8 months, and then in August we'll come out and charge the $95 for the upcoming year. The only way we can make this thing work is by having large numbers of people to ensure this. And so you will get, if you got a commission complaint against you or a real estate lawsuit against you due to something you did here, you will have an attorney assigned to you that will then turn around and help write your complaint response and defend you through the real estate commission process and so forth. So if you ever end up getting a complaint filed against you, you're going to be very excited you have this coverage. And I've heard from CBS agents that people thought this was a pretty good program. The last thing is we've had, I guess, great attendance, and that's not the word I'm looking for, participation. Thank you for that big word. Participation with the insurance guys. And so are they done with all that? Is there a deadline on? 175. We only needed 100. Here, it's right in front of me. And we had over 175 new agents enrolled in that program that were non-CBS agents. So that program will continue to exist. So I think that you probably could still do something yet this week. Is that right? But it's coming close. So if you want to do something, tell us today, and we have to get hold of Eric immediately. Good guy, Heather, can you come up and give the good guy away? Yeah, you can stand there. Hold on, let's get her. Hold on, because we got people out there who can't hear you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Thank you.
You need to give it to a good guy, so don't give it to Aaron.
Thank you, Amanda, for giving me this award. Today I'm going to give this to another agent who's been in the business 12 years. Super hardworking person, always has a smile on her face. If you follow her on Facebook, she's always posting inspirational things almost every single day. Angie Thiel. I don't know if she's here, but.
Is Angie here? She's on the phone. We'll get it to her in a little bit. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
One last thing, and then we're going to be done. In our mastermind groups over the last month, I've been sending out a video to have people watch, to be part of our conversation in the mastermind group. Most of those are Darren Daly, Darren Hardy videos. And we've got some good responses out of having the interaction of saying, watch that video, what's your takeaways from that? And we have a quick 5-minute thing on that. And so we've got a real good positive response. So in our mastermind groups, that may be another part we start doing. If I see a video that seems to have some good meat and potatoes to it that we think can apply to helping us in the mastermind groups, we're going to start sending those out because our response to those have been pretty good, I think, over the first 2 or 3 we've done. Darren Hardy, who does Darren Daily, talked yesterday about being the unique person that you are, and that by being the unique person you are, you're more likely to be successful. It was a 2-version thing, but it's basically owning your own stuff. That's not what he said.
Owning your own shit.
Yeah. This is Darren's words, not Brooks. But you got to own your own stuff. You need to be professional. And just because you're being unique, that the bottom line is you still got to be professional. You got to be committed. You got to be respectful of other people. Be professional in everything you do. Show up and give it your best. Be prepared when you show up. Number 3 is a big one. Stop whining, moaning, and groaning, right? And it's what we're talking about in all these videos is burn the boats. Everyone gets halfway over and they start whining, oh, I don't want to be on the boat. Own yourself, figure out your strengths, be unique you are, but stop whining. Stop taking on other people's stuff. Darren has said this for years. One of the number 1 reasons the most successful people are super achievers versus overachievers or average is that they learn how to have insane focus and focus on the few things, and they learn how to say no to distractions. So people, I don't know how we can learn this in our business. Start taking on everyone else's stuff. Oh my God. But you can't, and here's the problem with it. See, the problem is that when you take on everyone else's stuff, that's usually an excuse that you make up to not do what you should be doing to prospect and doing your own stuff. That's the truth. Because now you got an excuse. Oh, no, I got to help Brian. Brian needs my help. I can't prospect. I can't recruit. I can't coach. Stop it. Stop tolerating the BS. Speak frankly. How often do we talk about that? In our business, we get paid by the number of awkward, uncomfortable conversations we have. Don't let them guess where you stand on something. Be honest and forthright and let them understand what your position is. Speak deeply, care, thinking of yourself. I don't remember what the subtitle of that one was. And stop giving a rip about what other people think. He calls it the 60s. When you're in your 60s, you stop caring what everyone else thinks, right? But that when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s, you're so worried about what other people think by what your actions are. You're doing actions, not that are in the best interest of you or your success. You're doing actions because you want other people to perceive you a certain way. He says the sooner you start thinking like a 60-year-old in your 20s and your 30s and 40s, the more successful you're going to be. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So guys, those of you, Darren Hardy is free. I highly recommend that you watch it. Julie sent me, is Julie Tartaglia back here somewhere? She sent me a video. Who was that video from? You sent me a video the other day that was really good from someone that you said also does like a daily video or something like that. She doesn't know. She went on vacation, drank some wine, killed some brain cells. All right, guys, our time is up. Please, awards breakfast next week. We expect 500 people. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have some fun. Love to see you guys there. Thank you very much. Have a great day.